Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Bondilyn Jolly, and I'm the VP of Marketing at REevaluate and the Managing Partner at 365.agency. And I have the extreme pleasure of being with a very dear friend and professional colleague today, Brenda Thompson. Brenda, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm so excited to be here too.
I am so happy to have you here. Brenda is the broker owner of Homesmart Stars in the greater Dallas area, and she's also the CEO of the Redline group. And Brenda, you and I go way back, and you're one of those absolute amazing power women. When you and I met, you were just starting to spiral up in a brokerage in the Dallas area from scratch. And how many agents did you build that brokerage to?
I built that one to 350 agents and then moved into more of a national role with that company. And then just last year, decided to get back a little local again and start working with agents on a more one-on-one basis. And so that's when I bought the Homesmart franchise to open it. So that was August.
So what's so exciting about Brenda is she has worked in every facet of the real estate business. She has served as an agent. She has served as a very successful broker. She has moved into like high executive level, franchise roles where she has traveled all around the nation, helping brokers and agents in their growth. And in your list of accolades, and I actually had to print the accolades up, guys, but she was named the best realtor in Dallas by D Magazine. She has been featured on the cover of Texas Top Agent magazine. Hey, I want a copy of that. And has been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, and Business Week. And I know, Brenda, you do a lot of traveling and speaking, or did previous to all of this craziness, but a lot of traveling and speaking, not just for the REevaluate organization for our Mastermind series, but you're also a very highly sought after speaker in the real estate sector and beyond. And so I'm so happy to have you here today. And I know our audience is very appreciative as well.
Thank you. I am as well.
And so we're going to dive in. I'm going to cover just a couple of logistics with everybody in the audience to help make this experience the best it can be. So in your GoToWebinar control panel, you will see some different options. There's a question tab. If you have any questions for Brenda, for myself, over the course of this 1 hour experience, put them in the question tab. We're setting aside some time at the end of the webinar to address all of the questions. Brenda, if sometimes, if there's a question that's very relevant to what's happening in the conversation at that moment, I might interject with that. But otherwise, we will be saving questions until the end. But go ahead and share those. We do have time set aside. There's also a poll tab. We have a series of different polls we're going to be asking you today. And we want everyone to participate. And the polls will pop up on your screen. It's really easy for you to go ahead and click and make your selections in those. So watch for those. We'll announce them as they come along. But we want everyone's participation. This is data that we will be sharing with you as well as the real estate industry on the backside. Everyone should have received an email with 3 handouts. There are 2 Excel spreadsheets. One is a financial analysis and income expense tracking worksheet. The other is a review of last year's monthly productions. And the third is a PDF document. It is entitled Your 2020 Business Plan. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quickly so that people see that document. And this is a very involved document, and we're going to be referencing different parts and pieces of this document as well as those 2 spreadsheets. So you should have received an email with those. Also, there's a handouts tab drop down in your control panel. Those 3 links are there as well. And then you will also be receiving an email on the back side of this with those downloads. So they're nice to have handy. If you don't have them handy, don't worry about it. I will pull them up on the screen as we discuss each of those points today. My last and final point to make is we are recording this webinar today. It will be available on demand. So if you miss a part that you want to, revisit, if you want to share with, your agents or colleagues, it will be available for you, so no worries at all. You'll receive all of that information on the backside. Have I covered everything, Brenda?
I think so. I think like you, I have things spread around, so we'll pick things up as we need to and show them to the audience.
Well, so, I think that it is important that we start with sort of that personal or emotional check-in. And, I know, Brenda, you have been trying to stay, in daily touch with your agents. It's so important right now more than ever, to be in touch and to really, pay homage and respect to where people stand emotionally every day. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to ask our first poll question. So we're going to poll the audience in how you're feeling today. And Brenda, tell me, like, how are you dealing emotionally? I'm in 4 weeks now of shelter in place. I live in Los Angeles. We have been sheltering in place for 4 weeks now. And it's challenging. How are you doing down in the Dallas area?
Thank you for asking. And I think it is very important for us to ask each other these things like this. We're doing okay. So for me, home is in the greater Dallas area. We live in Frisco. And it's my husband and I and our 2 boxers, our 2 dogs. I would say the dogs having pets right now is probably one of the nicest things of keeping you grounded and centered. And, they don't know anything's going on. So they're still happy. They think it's great that we're home more often. So we're still doing okay. I'm happen to be sitting in my office right now, and as I look out the window, I see a few cars trickling by, but the normal traffic is, diminished by a whole lot. And we are primarily shelter at home as well. I come into the office to check mail, and that's about it. And so my purpose in checking the mail every day is because we do still have closings happening. So my agents are still closing the deals that they had put together 30 days ago. And, it's my duty to make sure that I do check the mail and make sure that they get paid. But we are definitely everything, calmed down and sheltering at home. And I'm staying in daily contact with my agents to make sure, check in with them emotionally, and then also to remind them to be doing something for business every day too. And we'll talk more about this all throughout this course, but it's definitely an opportunity to focus on pieces of your business that you needed more time for. So now you have the time, and now's the time to actually put some time into it. But I would say we're handling things well here, and just hoping for when things get back to whatever normal is. It's going to be a different normal as we move forward.
It is, and I'm looking at the poll results. Thank you all for participating. 54% of our audience is hopeful. And
Good.
that, I really like seeing that. And I see,
Good.
There's still a lot. We've got about 20% that are feeling nervous, 4% that are scared. These are, I don't know about you, Brenda, but, my emotions about all of this, and I'm sure the audience will agree, it's a little bit of a roller coaster over the course of the days. You'll have these really hopeful moments. You'll have a sense of normalcy or a business as usual kind of moment. And then, you turn on the news, and the next thing you know, you're living in that fear again. And so I think it's, just important that we all recognize that we're all in this, together, and it doesn't matter who you are or where you are in life. We're all going through the same sets of emotions, but I love seeing that hopefulness, and I'm so happy. And I kind of feel like maybe we're starting to see some of that light at the end of the tunnel. In California, we're starting to flatten the curve the last 2 days. We're starting to see some really positive numbers, where we're not continuing to grow exponentially in terms of cases. And, those are those moments where you become very hopeful that, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel in all of this. Okay, so we've done our emotional check-in. Thank you all for all of that. That's really important. So I'm going to, in this screen share, in this 2020 business plan document, there's a couple of things Brenda and I wanted to share that we put together for you. On the second page, and I'm sharing that right now on the screen, I hope you all can see it. This is daily quarantine questions, and I actually printed this up about 4 weeks ago and hung this on my refrigerator. So I'm at home with my husband. I have 2 teenage children, And these questions have been monumentous for our family every day, where we do this little check-in, and it's like, who am I checking on or connecting with today? What expectations of normal am I letting go of? How am I getting outside? How am I expressing creativity? How am I expressing gratitude? And this is taking care of who you are personally is just as important as taking care of the professional side of yourself right now. And Brenda, I know this is a big conversation you've been having with a lot of your agents
It is.
Taking that time every single day. And I know you've got some great words of advice that you've been sharing with your agents. So lay it on us.
So a lot of mine, and I love this. I did not have this. So Bondilyn, thank you for putting that together and sharing it with everyone. But I've been really trying to get agents and anyone that I talk to just to focus on something that is every day a conscientious focus on something that will help your business for the long term, but do something for yourself too. And so some of what I've been talking about is, and we're going to talk about budget today, and there are a lot of things with budget that you can be thinking about and putting together, budget items that you might not need right now that you could put on a pause, and then actually some things that you're going to double down on. There are definite things that if you have seen ROI on that before, return on investment or return on your efforts, then you need to double down on that. And some of those are going to be that you're putting dollars to it. Sometimes it's just time, your time, and double down on those and put those things together. Work on your database. I don't think there's any one of us who could say that our database is perfect and that our CRM is perfect. That's something that we can all work on always. Reaching out to the people that you have had success with, that your sphere of influence, your family, your friends. Bondilyn and I were talking earlier about doing some virtual connections with your friends, whether it's a happy hour or share a meal, and just be able to have that connection. And we're doing that by technology that we didn't used to do. We used to think that we had to actually physically get together in the same room to share a meal or to share an evening. And now we're realizing that even we don't have to be in the same room. So I think this is great for the long term for us to remember when we have friends across the other side of the country or the other side of the state. We can still use technology and feel like we're together. Work on some education things that you're missing, things that you want to do a designation or a certification. Spend some time doing that, because right now, where most of the classes were required in-person attendance, most of them are now available online for e-learning classes. So you could beef up on some skills that you felt like you wanted to get some new learning on, or some additional learning, or even learning something completely new you can do online right now. Work on your online presence, your website, your social media, work on your social media presence, and doing video just like this. You can do snippets of little video to your sphere of influence. But my biggest thing that I try to say every day, wake up with something about what can I do for my business, and put some time toward that. And then what can I do for me? And the what can I do for me is really, really important right now. And that's going to be the simple things. It might be cleaning out that junk drawer that you ignore, but if you clean it out and get it in order, then you're going to feel happy about it every day. And who doesn't need, not only right now, but for the long term, who doesn't need those little things that make us happy every day? So do something for yourself that is all about you. Get out and enjoy some sun. We're in spring weather for all of us all across the country. There's a day here or there that's a really pretty weather. Get outside, stand out on your own patio, still practice social distancing, still be safe, but get out on your patio and just breathe in the good, clean, pretty air with some sun. I look out my window right now and it's sunny, so I'm gravitating toward wanting to be out there today.
Well, it's true. It's funny because when your sense of normal gets disrupted, you know, it's so easy to, I mean, I literally, my teenage daughter didn't go outside for like 3 days, and she finally came to me and goes, I haven't even stepped outside in 3 days. I don't even know why. Like, I'm just, you know, kind of in this bubble. And my sanity personally has been going out, and I love to exercise. So, you know, and all of our hiking trails in California have been shut down, but my husband and I have been going out and running every day, or just going out and just taking, you know, a walk, and just getting outside, feeling physical, you know, and not being confined by these 4 walls, right? It's amazing what it does to your emotional psyche, and how it helps you be more productive, you know, work-wise too.
I think it's important to remember too, that while we do need to practice social distancing and be inside, we can still get out, we can still walk outside. We can still do a little bit outside here or there that lets us still enjoy the rest of the world. So I can see where your daughter did that. I think many of us have done that at some point, where 2 or 3 days went by and we went, gosh, I didn't step outside at all. We can still do that. We just have to remind ourselves.
And Brenda, I love this checklist. So like, and I should have this pulled up on the screen. So we have sort of the personal self-check every day, the questions you ask yourself. And then we have Brenda's professional checklist every day. And Brenda, I love this because, you know, I mean, you and I both work with agents and brokers. And I know I've got brokerages right now who we're saying, okay, let's focus on the ancillary services across your brokerage. You know, how can we start working towards different kinds of accreditations, or start adding these different ancillary services, things that, you know, brokers and agents a lot of times feel like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to work on my database and clean that up. I don't have time to work on my online presence. Well, right now, like, none of you have a single excuse, because you're not out driving around, you're not running kids to practices, you're not out showing houses, whatever that is. So, you know, take that time and really work on, you know, yourself, your business. So I just love this. So everybody, print those pages up, post them wherever you need to. Like I said, my daily quarantine questions hang on my refrigerator. My husband and my kids will stand there every single day and go through each question together, and just, you know, make sure we're keeping it in check.
What a great family bonding activity too. That's a great family bonding activity, to stand there and talk about it with each other. So that's a good thing for families to do.
Yeah, and just, you know, finding ways to be of service, you know, to our community, right? Now, you're very focused on being of service to your agents. You know, I'm focused on being of service, you know, to everybody across, you know, our companies, as well as my family. I have extended family in the California area. You know, my son and I, we've been doing baking and, you know, leaving little deliveries for people, and, you know, just different ways that we can find to be of service. And it feels so good, you know, to just know that you're helping bring a smile to somebody, or, you know, contributing to their life in some way. So I think that's important.
It is, yes. And then use the time to build your business, because that, I think we've all asked for over the years. You know, I wish I had more time to do this, to focus on that in my business. We've all done that. So use some of this time to do that focus that you've told yourself you wanted to do for years. And health is going to be one of those: health, fitness, family, relationships, all of it. But whatever pieces of your business you had said that you wanted to focus on, this is a great time to do it. I've been working with my agents with, I call it the stay-at-home task list. And so every day I send them something to do. And I recognize that not everyone is going to do every single item, but if there's 1 or 2 things that they take from the list each week, then it does benefit them. And I know for most of us, once you start on a project, you can kind of have it filter out into the other areas, so that all of a sudden you've started on one project, but you touch several other areas because it started a process. And so do that, you know, find something each and every day that you're focusing on, so that it will benefit your business for the long term. Video is the one thing I think we're all getting more accustomed to doing, is video. And that's something that you can do. And and do quick little videos from your phone, from your computer, whatever, and do quick little snippets to reach out to your sphere of influence, to reach out to your past clients, show them that you care, show them that you are concerned, which is genuine, always be authentic. But ask them how they're doing, and I think you'll find wonderful responses there, and it will help build those bonds with those individuals as well.
So Brenda, speaking of video, the first week that we were in shelters in place, about 4 weeks ago, we surveyed a large number of agents across our audience. And we asked them, how many of you are using video to communicate, whether it's with your clients or your colleagues, or in general, like how many of you are using? And only 16% at that time said they were using video. Do you know, 1 week later we surveyed that same audience again, and that number went up to 66%.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
That was huge. And of course, solutions like we're using GoToWebinar today, but Zoom and even FaceTime on your phones, and there's just a million different ways that we can embrace it. And I think that when everything sort of first went down, people were just sort of in holding patterns in a sense, and just I'm not changing the way I'm doing things. And I think a week went by and everybody realized, what, the only way I'm going to get to talk to grandma, or the only way I'm going to talk to my colleagues, or the only way I'm going to have a good conversation with this client, is video. And so I was blown away that we saw a 50% increase in video. And so that leads to a question that we actually want to ask our audience, our next poll. And we want to know, what tools are you using more now than previously before? So I'm going to go ahead and post that. And let's go ahead and see how the audience responds today.
I'm anxious to see the results of this one too, because I do feel like we're all using a lot more of these tools. And maybe you are, maybe you're not, but I'm curious to see which ones you're using the most. And I think that some of these things that we are using today will last. So we're going to be talking today about, reevaluating your business and revisiting the business plan. And I do think that there are some things that we are doing today that we will continue to do for the long term. Virtual tours, we've really amped up, many of us have amped up our usage of virtual tours. And I think that that's something that we're going to see for the long term, is see those increases in doing things, making things more readily available virtually. And as we're a global economy, and as people are moving from state to state, that's going to be helpful for us as we're representing our own buyers and sellers for the long term, because if we can show them a virtual tour, then we can help them to make the better informed decisions, so that when they do fly into that city, they're looking at only the houses that they really need to, because they've already had an opportunity to do virtual tours. So I'm curious and excited to see how this poll comes out.
Well, this is interesting, and we'll share all the results on the backside. But Brenda, this is a great audience. You guys are a great audience, because 66% are focused on online education right now. So kudos to you guys. They didn't need that advice. They're already on it, Brenda. This is wonderful. And I'm also really excited to see that 60% are really expanding their social media, whether it's through organic or paid. You know me, I specialize in marketing. I run an advertising agency, and we're always, it's a battle trying to get our agents and brokers, to have strong, brand presence across all of their online marketing channels. And I think right now is a time that everybody is really seeing the value of building that brand presence and nurturing it. And so I'm really excited and hoping that on the backside of all of this, that everything that, our agents and brokers have put into place and are practicing right now, that they'll be into that flow and we'll be able to continue that momentum. So kudos to everybody out there. You guys are great. 51% email, text, video messaging, 57% for virtual tours or virtual meetings. So just you guys are 100% on it. So thank you all so very much.
Good.
So Brenda, go ahead. I'm sorry. Well, I was going to move on. We have SWOT analysis to move on to. We've got business planning outlines. We have spreadsheets, and we've got about half an hour left to cover all of this. So Brenda, tell me what you'd like me to pull up on the screen next, and let's keep moving along.
Great. So, let's talk about the business plan. Let's talk about revisiting your financial analysis from your, right there is good. And then we'll move into the worksheet that goes along with that. But looking at your business plan, and hopefully many of you did some type of a business plan probably around December. And I mean, let's face it, whatever you planned for this year is now going to be a little different, right? So as you're doing the business plan every year, you look at last year, but then also what you are looking to do for the next year. And I'm hopeful that your first quarter was pretty much like what you felt like it would be. But we are curious about that. So that is the next question that Bondilyn has posted up, is how many of you feel that you are still on track with your 2020 financial projections? And I would say, answer that as of today. And then let's talk about what's going to happen over the second quarter and through the end of 2020. So if you want to go ahead and answer that one right now, it's a simple yes or no answer. If you feel like you are on track right now with your 2020 financial projections. So as those answers are coming in, I think that, or I hope that for many of you, Q1 for 2020 was very much like you expected it to be. But let's face it, Q2, we're going to see some differences, and that's going to be all across the country. We will see some differences in the way Q2 plays out. So I think it's a great time to revisit. And the questions on our outline, and this is, I spend a whole day going over this in the fall with agents all across the country, but what do I want with my real estate career? Why is this important to me? And this is about discovering your own why, and why do you get up in the morning and do what you do all day, every day, and what's important to you, and then what drives you to accomplish your goals, and then a little bit about what is your what are you going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And I think right now it's a little bit more difficult to determine that. Right now, we don't know how long the situation that we're currently in will last. We do hope we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, but we may not know exactly. So I think we probably had a little bit of time to visit those questions. Where are people feeling like they're at, Bondilyn, on that?
Yeah, so I don't think anyone's going to be surprised with this, but 72% of our respondents say that they do not feel that they are on track for the rest of the year. And I know, Brenda, this is not a surprising number. The 28% who are saying that you are on track, kudos to you, because I know so many of our agents and brokers, that I deal with are coming to me saying all of my projections are completely out the window right now. And, and they're struggling with trying to figure out how to even correct those, correct that. And I know you're going to provide some insight on all of that, but it's tough, when we're looking at the news, when we're not sure, what the next month is going to look like, what this quarter is going to look like, what the second half of the year is going to look like, what the residual effects of this are going to be on the real estate, market, on the global economy. And so, I tend to err on the side of conservative and tend to, help people reevaluate their projections in a conservative, sort of mentality. So anyway, not a surprising number.
Not at all. And again, kudos to those of you who are feeling like you're on track. And let's talk about some ways that you can stay on track, or that you can kind of refocus and reposition so that you can navigate these waters that we're in right now. So one of the downloads that you have is the financial analysis, income and expense tracking. And, one of the things that I always advise agents to do is to spend some time with your family, whoever is a part of your household. And let's face it, now is a good time to get their buy-in on what your goals are going forward as we navigate through this. So I would say, look at this, and we're going to talk about just a couple of things on this, because all of these are things that you need to fill out later. So this one in particular, this is the financial analysis, income and expense tracking. This is one of the downloads that you have. But I want you to go through it and really dig deep on where your money is coming in and where your money is going out. So you will need to add quite a few things to this. This needs to be personal to you. I'm going to give you a couple of thoughts though, because you do have an opportunity right now to look at this. Take a look at your bank statements, maybe your last 2 or 3 bank statements, and your credit card statements, because I want you to look at the things that you're spending money on. And I think most of us either write a check for it, so you might pull out your checkbook if that's easier than looking at your bank statement. Where were you writing checks recently? Where were your credit card statements? What expenses are you paying for by credit card? And look at that. That way you know where your money is going out. And that will help you to look at things. There are going to be some things that you need to up, and there are going to be some things that you need to maybe ask for a pause on. And I'll give you some real examples from my own budget. I have a facial subscription or membership that I go get a facial every month. Some people have the gym membership, some people have massage memberships. I ask them, but they can't do facials right now. We literally are not allowed to. So I reached out to them and asked for a pause, and they said, absolutely, 3-month pause, we'll revisit it in 3 months. So I'm encouraging you, if there are things that you need to pause, whatever those might be, just reach out. People are really, really willing to work with you on that. And I give that one because that's a personal expense, but you're going to have some personal expenses that way. You'll have some business expenses that way. On the flip side of that, I also have one of those meal service that I get a couple of meals, the packet of all the ingredients delivered each week. And so it's fresh ingredients. I love doing that because it allows me to cook for my household, but in a way that, I get exactly what I need. I've increased that because I'm home now. So where I was eating out at restaurants, or I was traveling, or my husband was traveling, now I'm home. So I've increased that. So there will be some things once you look at your budget, some things that you decrease, maybe some things that you do away with completely, but hopefully most of the things that you already had on membership services that you just need to pause for a little while and reach out to them. They are more than willing to try to work with you in most cases. And then again, there will be some things that you want to increase. But on this sheet that's pulled up in front of you from the expenses, both the business expenses, the personal expenses, again, there are going to be some things that you need to add for your own household, and some things that you'll find that you're not spending as much money on right now. Dry cleaning is one. Your dry cleaning bill probably has gone down a bit right now. So just be very aware of those things. Look at the things that you have good return on investment for, especially from a business level, and you're going to want to increase some of those. So lead generation, if it's been paying for itself, if you have been generating enough leads to pay for the cost of that, now's the time to double down on it, because you'll need that going forward. In any way that you can increase those leads coming in so that you are ready. Things are still going under contract all across the country. I talk to people everywhere, and things are still going under contract. We're doing it a little bit differently, but it's happening.
Brenda, one thing that blows me away is that online searches, like online property searches and online searches for agents, are up almost 40% right now. And so it's imperative that you are out there. People have more time. Like out there, you should be marketing. You need to be investing in the lead gen. And I know that a lot of people are in that sort of like a wait and see, ride it out. But I truly believe and know from marketing that what I'm investing in today, the leads I'm investing in today are going to be the business, that's going to be recognized, 90 days, 120 days from now. And if people are hitting that pause button, they're going to come, out of Q2 with absolutely nothing in their pipelines right now at all. And that's a really big concern, to me with the clients I consult with.
It is. And, I've been in real estate for quite a while now, almost 20 years. And so I've seen things happen. I've been around when 9/11 happened, been around when we had the stock market crash in 2008. And ladies and gentlemen, we are in the right industry, because the real estate industry tends to boom after any type of a recession. And you think about the reason why those online searches are increasing right now is because people are sitting a little bit more still. So not only are we who are in the business, but every other industry is sitting a little bit still right now. And there are people who right now are thinking, gosh, I'm tired of looking at that wall and I want a new house when we come out of this. I need more room, or I need less room, or whichever the case may be, whether they're ready to upsize or downsize. There are people out there right now who are thinking about the investment opportunities that are to come as well. So there are real opportunities here. And one of the things that I say from an education standpoint is look at getting your short sale and foreclosure resource designation. You can do that online, and because there will be people who run into some financial difficulties during this and need to sell once we come full circle and come out of this. And I want you to be positioned to be able to help those people. So most of us are in real estate because we like helping people. There will be people who need our help. And so if you can spend this time looking at your budget and revisiting where you're spending your money, both from a marketing standpoint and your own home, you'll be well positioned to help people who want to make moves down the road as well. And that's going to happen. It is. There are, and here's perfect timing for our next question, but there are people who will be adjusting and reevaluating their own home just as you are with your own business right now.
Yeah, so and Brenda, I love this financial spreadsheet you provided. So I actually, my husband and I, we use Mint.com for all of our personal finances. And just like you, when all of this started happening, we really looked at where we were spending money. We consolidated, we sort of streamlined, we reappropriated. Obviously, our entertainment budget didn't need to be under entertainment. So that actually ended up going into food because I have two teenagers in my house. So I needed to put more over in the grocery side of things. The teenage son will eat you out of house and home, as many of you know out there. But then we've done the same thing inside of our companies as well. And so this is a really wonderful, comprehensive list that you provided as a starting point for people. And it's interesting because actually we're looking at about 59% of our audience right now has not sat down and done any adjustments in terms of their annual projections and their budgets yet. So I really hope that this spreadsheet is a great starting point for all of you, to go in and really evaluate everything. And Brenda, I think it's imperative, like you said, from the business expenses to not cut where you're seeing success, where you're seeing strong ROI. That's really important, because hitting that pause button and thinking that you can pick up where you left off a month or 2 months from now is going to put everybody really well behind that curve.
And for those who have not made any adjustments yet, don't be hard on yourself. I think all of us went into this thinking, oh, this will be a few days, or maybe a week, or maybe 10 days. And we did kind of an emotional check-in in the beginning. And honestly, there was a point that even I was like, oh, it'll be quick. We'll get through this and it'll be fine. And then there was a Friday night that we got an announcement, that the regulations within the Dallas area were getting more strict, and I felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach. So we've all felt that. That is real, and you are more than allowed and encouraged to feel that as you go through it. But now we've been in this long enough, I think you do need to really sit down and look at your budget, look at where you're spending money, put money where it works for you and has worked for you in the past. You want your business to excel after this, and there will be a great need for our services. There will be a great need once we come out of this. So I think this is a great one to next look at, you know, what percentage of it have you adjusted your numbers by? And you know, are you making adjustments 0 to 5%, a little bit, or all the way up to over 25%? If you'll go ahead and fill that in too, because there are things that we don't need to adjust very much. There are quite a few things that you may say, nope, that's working for me, and I just need to keep it going. And then there will be some things that you need to make some significant changes on. So I'll let you answer that as we move through.
Yeah, Brenda, this is interesting. So people have adjusted. I mean, we're looking at like 60% of our audience today who has, you know, made financial adjustments of 10% or greater.
Okay.
And about 25% that are over 25%. So, I mean, people are, you know, they're cracking down. Good to, you know, kudos to you guys. Once again, this is an awesome audience, you know, and I think it's interesting as the weeks go on. Like I said, you know, 4 weeks ago, as we're talking to our audience, I think everybody was sort of in a shell shock state. And now it's 4 weeks later, and I think people are really starting to hone in and, you know, make adjustments and come to, you know, some sort of recognition with everything. So this is wonderful.
So one of the things that I feel like as we're talking about making those adjustments and where you need to make adjustments, so we started with looking at where you're putting money, and then let's look at where your money came from last year. And the reason why I still want to look at that, yes, this year will be significantly different than last year. But if you look at where the source is, the main thing I'm looking for here. So if you don't know off the top of your head, so first of all, if you have such a great business that you don't remember your clients from last year, kudos, because you've had a successful year. You've been knocking it out of the park. But let's look at each month and who your clients were that you actually closed, buyers, sellers, and where the source of that client came from. So was it a previous client that you're working with again? And that's great, because that means you kept up with them. NAR stats show that 40%, more than 40% of people would like to use you again, but we don't always keep up with them. So this is your opportunity to reach back out to all of those people that you have closed with in the past and touch base with them and just ask how they are doing. But while you're doing that, you can also look at the source where that business came from. Was it a past client? Was it a referral from a friend, relative, maybe a neighborhood that you farm, maybe an organization that you belong to that you're able to network in and really build, you know, your business from networking in that organization? And a lot of times those are things that we like. So those are, you know, personal interests of our own that we join a club or join a group, or we just kind of hang around those people and spend time with them, but it becomes a business resource. So if you're finding that you're closing business from that, then look at ways to increase that. And then, of course, there's also the online lead generation. If you're finding that you're closing deals with that, then again, that's where you need to double down and actually continue to build that presence. You know, LinkedIn, Facebook, I know that people work social media channels, and as time wears on, those are becoming more and more important too. So if you're finding that in your sources that you're writing down Facebook friend quite a bit, guess what? You need to be upping your game on Facebook, and there's ways to boost posts and do all of that, but you want to make sure that you're putting time into where your sources came from. So while you're looking at your budget, look at your closings and where they came from and what the lead source was, so that you know where to be putting your time and efforts, because that is an area then that you don't want to decrease your budget on right now. Okay. And then, you know, looking at last year, you know, look at, so, and we didn't have a poll, and that actually might have been a fun poll to see where people's business is coming from.
Yeah, because we do have the poll about the pending transactions, which I'm kind of interested to see the feedback there. Hey, Erin, I know that you're out there. Could you actually really quickly create a poll for us and ask people, ask the audience if they know the source of their largest number of transactions, and whether, let's see, we want, what are the options we want on there, Brenda? So we want like
past client, friend, referral from friend or relative, and online lead generation or networking.
Social media. And social media and networking. So Erin's going to go ahead. Erin is our assistant that's secretly in the background here for us, everybody. So he's going to go ahead and add that question, and we're going to go ahead and poll everybody. So Erin, just send me a quick message when you have that question created. And if people don't know that, once again, right, Brenda, don't worry. Take the time, go back, look through last year's, you know, records and transactions, or even Q1. You know, and, you know, work through that. And it's really surprising when you actually put pen to paper and figure some of this out, because sometimes in your head, you're thinking, oh, of course, you know, the majority of my business comes from this or from that. And when you literally go and line item it out, sometimes you're in for a little bit of a surprise, or you start to see a trend somewhere else that you weren't paying attention to.
That you didn't notice. And I think that happens with your budget. It also happens when you're looking at the source of your business. So with your budget, you may be spending money, a gob of money somewhere that you didn't think you were, and that you suddenly realize, wow, that's an easy place that I can cut back because I don't need this or that as much as I used to be using. But the same for your source of business. If you are thinking about where the sources of your closed transactions come from, then that's where you need to be spending your time right now. And the other thing about doing this right now, if you're thinking about who your closings were with, where that business came from, it's a perfect time for you to reach for your phone and send that individual a text. So you might call them, you might text them, but just do something that is authentic and that is compassionate, empathetic, to be able to say, hey, I was thinking about you. You really were thinking about them, right? So, hey, I was thinking about you. I wanted to know how you're doing.
All right, here we go. Erin whipped this out really quick for us here. So let's see what people come up with.
I find that, Bondilyn, just as you mentioned, oftentimes people are a bit surprised when they really sit down and look at where their closings from last year came from. I find there's typically an aha moment in there that they think, wow, I do get a lot of business from my own neighborhood. Why am I not doing more to promote myself in my own neighborhood? That's easy for me. I'm there every day.
Well, and look right at now. The referral from friends and family, right? We've got, right now it's sitting at 55%. And okay, this is that time. You know how I use the story, my son is baking like crazy and we're going out and delivering cookies. You know, this is that opportunity as, you know, not just a human being, but as you, as the real estate professional, to step up and service your community and step out and see how you can be of assistance to people. And apparently 55% of you, that's where a lot of your business comes from. So this is your opportunity to be the knight in shining armor kind of idea for everyone out there. Past clients, 28%. And online lead generation is sitting at 11% too. So those of you that are really, you know, working the online lead generation, you know, keep that going. Do not hit the pause button there. I highly recommend find other places that you can pause if you have to, but not there, particularly now with knowing that we're seeing about this 40% increase in online, you know, searches and things like that. I think we're going to see a huge flood in the market. Like Brenda said, I think we're going to see a lot of new listings that are going to flood the market. And I think we're going to see a lot of expanding families. I think we're going to see a lot of divorces. I think we're going to see a lot of downsizing, right? All of those major life events, times of crises like this have a tendency to sort of perpetuate or, accelerate those types of life activities. And so this is a really good time to be, like Brenda said, doubling down in those areas. So thank you all for sharing. Brenda, we have this one other question, and I'm really, really anxious to ask everybody. And this was one that, based on a conversation you and I were having yesterday, how many people truly are experiencing cancellations on pending transactions? Because you and I were talking, there's sort of like the media hype and all that noise that's out, in our real estate community right now. But when we actually sit down with people one-on-one and really start analyzing that with them, we're not necessarily seeing the numbers that correlate to sort of the frenzy. So we're curious with everybody. So please, be honest, share this. I want 100% of you to participate in this poll. This is very valuable information for all of us.
It is, and Bondilyn, we were talking about that just because I'm still coming to the office every day because I still have agents closing transactions that were already in process to some level. Some weren't under contract yet, they were close, but then we had several that were still pending transactions, and we're able to make some adjustments. I mean, I have closings now happening more remote. I have closings now happening. Some of our title companies are doing drive-through service. We have things happening so that we can still honor social distancing, but that we're still meeting the needs of our clients. Because guess what? We're in an industry where people need a place to live. Everyone needs a place to live no matter what's going on. So our industries, that is why so many states have counted us as essential, not for us to do open houses for everyone in the public, but because our buyers still need to buy that house so that they have a place to live, and our sellers still need to sell that property that they wanted to sell 2 months ago. So I'm not seeing, when I talk one-on-one with agents, I'm not seeing that pending transactions have canceled yet. We're still following those through. Now, we're probably taking fewer new listings, and we're probably putting fewer pending transactions in the pipeline right now. But I think to date, we're not seeing many cancel. Do we have any results yet?
And the poll, we have 64% are saying that they are not losing pending transactions. So that's pretty much on target with what we were expecting to see.
It is. So I think going forward, what we need to remember we've talked about putting your budget together. We've talked about visiting where your business came from last year. And, let's be honest, I don't think our second quarter is going to be anywhere that we expected it to be. So last December, when you were looking at putting together your business plan for 2020, take your second quarter, whatever you thought that you would have in your second quarter, some of that will shift to the third quarter because there is still going to be some pent up demand. And so that's my encouragement to you, is that the sellers that wanted to sell back in February and have delayed it, they will still want to sell this summer. So that still is going to happen. There will still be buyers who are looking to buy and make changes, and we're going to see some families increase in size. That's kind of been a joke that people run around with, but it will happen. There will be some that decided they didn't enjoy quarantining together and they're ready to go their separate ways. We have high schoolers and college kids that are about to be moving on. That was part of the plan before, but they are moving on. They're graduating. And then the very, very sad part of this is that we are losing some people due to this pandemic. And those will be families that will need to make changes. And that is where our heart comes in, our authenticity about wanting to help people in trouble. We will be able to help those people in trouble. So our second quarter, is not going to be what you anticipated it being. Hopefully it's not the whole second quarter. I'm hopeful that, we're looking at April and May, and that maybe by the end of June, we're starting to see some activity pick up again. But as you're looking at your plan that you put together for last year, look at your second quarter. That's where the biggest change is going to be. I think that some of what we see as a downturn in the second quarter will be an upturn for the third quarter, because some of that will shift to the third quarter so that we see activity there. And that's what I'm hopeful for.
So Brenda, it's interesting. I mean, we're getting a flood of questions and engagement. Thank you all so much. There was actually a comment from Chris Sinatra that's out there. Hey, Chris. Chris actually said that he's experienced 12 canceled transactions, 4 sellers and 8 buyers as a result of Corona. Chris, I would love if you would type Brenda and I a message, just how like Brenda was just saying. Are those that, have they been canceled, or have they just been pushed back? Are they transactions that you're still most likely going to recognize? And some others of you have made some notations, and we're really curious about that. Has the transaction been completely canceled, or are people pushing those back with you? Because we're seeing quite a bit of, just engagement about that. Brandon out of Long Beach is talking about, just a lot of, refinance things coming through, challenges with loan officers and closings of offices and different things like that. So we know that there's a lot of that's sort of happening. And I know that's one of the challenges that a lot of you out there are trying to navigate right now. So those of you that had those types of comments for us, go ahead and send us another comment and just let us know if you're expecting to recognize those transactions at a later point on the backside of this, or if you feel that they're dead in the water. Brenda, we have a few minutes left. I feel like we could have blocked this out for hours with people.
Especially with the engagement, because I love that we have engagement of people with comments and questions, and we would love to touch on those more.
Yeah, it's an absolute flood, and I'm going to pose some of them, but for those of you, Brenda and I will go through all of these questions on the backside. I had no idea we were going to have so much engagement. It's very exciting, but we're going to have to reach out to each of you personally to address your questions. For those of you that are asking about the spreadsheets, these are all downloadable, and yes, they are Excel spreadsheets. So you can open them up. You can input your finances. Brenda, by the way, we've got multiple people saying thank you. They said their broker never supplies anything like this. So thank you so much for supplying this for people. It's so comprehensive. But yes, you can go through, you can work through these spreadsheets. They are yours. If you have questions about information you're putting in them, please, feel free to ping Brenda and I in that download that we provided you. We actually have, let me see if I can pull it up here super quick to show everybody. The last few pages this is interactive. There are all kinds of links here that you can click and engage with. And down at the bottom, I want to point out agents. You can actually schedule, and I know we've got some social media questions that are coming up. If you want to schedule a 15-minute social media review with somebody from the Elevate team, one of our coaches can reach out to you. They'll look at what you're doing in terms of your social right now, what kinds of content you're putting out. This is a really challenging time in terms of putting out relevant content. Schedule a little time with them. Let them look at what you're doing. They'll make some suggestions to you. They're great. And this is just a free service we are offering to our real estate community right now. If you are a broker who is, struggling with maybe reevaluating the finances across your office, there's an option for you. We are doing we call it a gap analysis or financial analysis. And our team can come in. They can look at, where you're spending money, what you're doing, what kinds of solutions you're providing agents, and how to help consolidate all of that. So take advantage of all of those links. And then also the final page is Brenda's and my direct contact information. If either of us can be of service to any of you with any questions, we will work through and address the questions that are being presented today. But if you have anything on the backside of this that we can be of service, please reach out to us. We are here for the community. Brenda, we've got a question. Oh my God, I don't even know where to, I mean, it's like, I think there's hundreds that are coming in. Yeah, so let me, I don't even know where to start, everybody. It's so overwhelming. So many of you are looking for help. We're here for you.
While you look through those to see about a question you want me to answer live,
Brenda,
I'll address one thing that, yes.
Well, several questions are coming in from the lead gen, and I suspect that relates back to when you were talking about sort of, you know, doubling down on your lead gen. And of course, we talked about the sources of your leads. So people are asking, you know, what advice do you have? Do you have certain solutions that you recommend? So I'm seeing a lot of that. So why don't you work on answering that? And I'll see if I can grab one or more too for us, okay?
Okay, so one of the things that, and I have some specific things that I'll mention in a second, but one of the things that you can do from a lead gen standpoint that I think is easy that we can all do, that you can do today, is the types of questions that you are getting. And this goes for brokers and for agents. So for brokers, if you are getting questions from your agents, take a little video, quick and super quick, super simple 20-second little video that you can email out as sort of a frequently asked question with the answer. But agents, you can do the same thing. You're getting a lot of the same questions. You can do a 20-second video that you post on Facebook, that you post on Instagram, that's free. So that's something you can do today. As far as other tools, I use the REevaluate tools, and that is something that Bondilyn and her team can tell you all about. But I use those tools because it is the drip email campaigns, it's automated postings to social media. There's a multitude of things that help you with online lead generation, as well as staying on top of the contacts that you currently have. From a standpoint of keeping track of your expenses, but so kind of backtracking a bit to your budget, keeping track of your expenses, there's a lot of tools out there that help you. Many of you use Mile IQ for tracking your mileage. I use Expensify for my expenses, and that's expensify.com. I think QuickBooks has a tool that you can download an app. So you just snap a picture of the receipt, plug it into the category that it needs to go to. TaxBot is another one that is helpful for that. But find the tool that works for you. The biggest thing is it needs to be a tool that you'll use. So if you like the look of one versus the other, then use that one. If you know, what works for me may not be the one that works for you. Like I said, I use Expensify. It's easy for me, but it's funny because I use QuickBooks and yet I don't use their tool for keeping track of expenses because I'm so used to the other one. So use the one that you will actually use.
So Brenda, we've run a few minutes over. I'm going to ask you to stay just a few more minutes. We still have hundreds of agents that are still dialed in with us right now. One of the questions that has come in, you know, and I'm seeing this quite a bit is, and I'm kind of taking a lot of people's questions and sort of consolidating it into one, but, you know, people who are having these sort of canceled contracts or people who are putting contracts on hold, I'm seeing like, you know, people's concerns over, okay, you know, my client doesn't feel as financially strong as they thought that they were. They're pushing, you know, these transactions back, putting things on hold. And a lot of people are asking just for recommendations or advice on the best way to communicate, you know, with that client and to, you know, to continue moving that transaction forward either now or at a later point.
Okay, great question. And so first of all, I would say be empathetic. And I understand that you're looking at this as your paycheck also, but the relationship that you can have, the responses and the reactions that you can have with your client, whether it's a seller or whether it's a buyer, understanding where they're at and their emotional place that they're in about this, that will carry the best and the longest. So be empathetic to them and where they're at and why they're making these decisions and these choices. Sometimes we are running into people, a lot of individuals who have lost their jobs during this. that's a scary time for them. And whatever you can do to be a partner with them is what will help you in the long term, maybe pull that deal or that buyer into a different house around at a later time. Communication is key. So communicate, I don't care who they are, what they are right now, communicate with each and every one of your clients at least on a weekly basis. And I say that, you know, I have a couple of deals happening with my agents right now where I think out of fear, people are frozen at home. There are some people who are frozen at home and they're not communicating to the same level that they probably do in a normal basis, on a normal daily basis. So their communication has gone down. So I would say pick up the phone and talk to each of your clients that you have transactions happening with, and keep that communication up. Sometimes you're just going to be the cheerleader to say, I don't really have an update for you, but we're still moving forward. We're still getting closer to closing. Explain to them the process that is happening for recognizing the social distancing that we need to be doing. So explain to them the precautions that you're taking, whether it's gloves, whether it's masks, whether it's, you know, closings that are happening at the almost drive-through closing, you know, that are happening curbside at the title company. Just make sure they understand we're respectful of what needs to happen, and whatever the regulations in your area are, you need to absolutely follow those regulations. But at the same time, there are things that we can be doing virtually. But think about it, buyers and sellers aren't used to doing e-signature like we are. So take the time. So just pull yourself back up for a moment, take the time to explain to them, we do e-signature. This is common in our industry, but this allows us to be able to send an amendment around, a change closing date, and get everyone's signature on it. And then we email it to the title company or whoever the closing agent is, the attorney's office, whoever, and just make sure that they're a part of the process and that they understand that you are the professional. You're an expert at this because you do this all day, every day. Just take the moment to explain the process to them. For buyers or sellers who are needing to delay or cancel contracts, just stay in regular contact with them, even through the process. You know, periodically check on them, and don't make it about business. Just periodically check on them and say, hey, haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. Just want to make sure you're doing okay. Simple, and just the simple reach outs.
So just communication, transparency.
Yes.
Be the leader, be the resource to people. I mean, it's common sense that, you know, it's great advice. And right now people need it more than ever, right? We all need it more than ever. So, so Brenda, we're going to go ahead and wrap here. I'm going to ask for a closing, you know, thought from you. I just want to let everyone know, thank you. You have been such an amazingly engaged audience. We will get respond to all of your different questions. I see so many of you that are asking for, you know, social media reviews and things like that. So you've got some links in that document, like I showed you. Look at this page. The top says spreadsheet downloads. You can click on all of these different links and engage with all of this. You also will receive an email from us on the back side, which will link you to a landing page where there'll be an on-demand, version of this webinar, all of the downloads, and you can request that social media review there too. Our coaches are fantastic, and we just want to help service you and make sure that when all of the dust settles, that you are still succeeding in business and servicing your clients in your community. Brenda, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to turn it over to you, let you do your closing thought, and then we're going to say goodbye.
Well, I just want to follow up on everything you said, Bondilyn. Thank you all for being so attentive and so responsive. And I hope that you've been able to take away a few. My goal always when I do any kind of talks anywhere is that you've taken away a couple of aha moments. And I feel like just from the engagement that we've had, that several of you have had some aha moments. But, as much as anything, I want you to know that we care about you and that we care about what is happening with you personally and professionally right now. Hang tight. You can reach out to us any number of ways. You've got our contact contact information. We are there for you. We are your cheerleaders and your champions, and we want for you to be able to get through this and to be able to recognize as quickly as possible on the other side an uptick in all of our business. And again, you know, the one thing I want to close with is that we are in an industry that tends to boom after this. So get your ducks in a row, because I am very hopeful and confident that once we get to the other side of this, you're going to see your business increase. So if you are seeing some things cancel, some things delay right now, just hang tight as much as you can, because on the other side of this, I think that we're all going to be really, really busy. So, and I want to be here and be cheerleading and championing for you at that time as well. So Bondilyn and I have had a great time today. We've enjoyed your participation and all of your comments and your responses to our polls. Thank you for your time today. And if there's anything more that you need from either one of us, please let us know.
Thank you all. Take care. Stay safe.